Hello, Josh.
Hey, Natalie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really, really excited about this podcast interview that we are recording presently. I We've been working together. This is a podcast where I invite successful entrepreneurs. The name of the podcast, as you all know, is The Entrepreneur's Mindset, and I think that you are the best example for the entrepreneur's mindset. And since we've started working together, I had this idea of I need to invite Josh to record a podcast because he can inspire and talk to so many people about the way he does business, his mindset, his routine, his meditation. I'm not going to say everything, but I just want to be a little I don't know if it's a mouse or something inside your apartment or your brain to know like what's happening in Josh's mind, like what's happening in Josh's day, because we see the results, we see you on Facebook, we see you talking to people, inspiring, showing an example, and we don't really know how it works inside. And I'm sure that a lot of people that are listening are going through struggles. They're entrepreneurs, they're trying to make it work. They don't necessarily know how to do it. They might think that it works with marketing and sales and more clients and more money, but you and I know that it works also on a different dimension and a different level. And so
Okay.
that's what I want to hear from you, Josh. I want to hear what is the dimension that you're vibrating on and how do you do it? Tell us your secret. That's what we want to know. Tell us your secret.
My secrets. Okay, well, fine. I'll give my secret here. First off, one of my secrets is that I get to have an amazing business coach that helped me with an amazing breakthrough. That's number one. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Let's put that out there. Yeah, no, because I mean, I there was a massive breakthrough that happened actually during one of our meetings. Um, if I can sum it up, I would say that it's easy to fix a lot of external issues. It's easy to, in life you can go and you can try to give somebody, you know, you can try to give somebody drugs that will Tylenol will help somebody feel better for the moment. Or there's other sort of drugs that will give you that, that short term, feeling better. But at its core, if you really want to help people, we have to build your immune system. We need to build people up. You want to be able to create a foundation or a platform that the body will grow stronger and then be able to fight off whatever issues it has. So I kind of see it like that. So for myself personally, I would say that I've before this cycle here, I've been in business, quote for quote, for for 7 years, right?
Wow.
For seven,
And so
for
you know what,
7 years.
Josh? I'm just realizing that we didn't even introduce you. So tell us
Yeah,
about your business. You have to tell us about you. So
yeah,
what
sure. So
business?
yeah, so I mean, I'm running basically two businesses right now. The first business is a mold and water damage business, which has sort of evolved over the past few years. I got into it because I was in a state of need. I was in a state of feeling a lack, and I needed to fill that lack, right? So I started off doing something that I found would give me money immediately.
Okay.
Um, Now, originally it was a painting. It was a painting business, and then the painting, turned into something a little bit more advanced, which was a mold and water damage business where we do thermal imaging because there was more of a need for it. Now,
And so that's also one of the reasons why I love your business, because I work with a lot of purpose driven entrepreneurs, coaches and therapists and people that are doing good in the world. And for them, we speak about mindset and we know, that they're going to be aligned with that. But you're in a mold business and you speak about mindset. That's what I love about it. It's like you're working with mold and water damage and painting, and so this is such an inspiration for everyone else who is in businesses that is not apparently so inspiring, but you find a way to be inspiring with a mold business. So I think that's amazing.
well, I appreciate that, and I want to say I was actually thinking about it the other day, the connection between a lot of people that do labor,
Yeah.
okay, and then the connection between doing labor and then taking the next step up. And I realized that it's sort of, that level where doing labor, I'm not putting it down, but there's a sense of a lack of belief in self. I think that comes into play when doing sort of work like
Yeah.
that, because you need to be on the job. You want to be on the job, and what ends up happening is a lot of people there cannot move to the next step.
Mhm.
Why? Number one is because they don't have that within themselves, that they're seeing a bigger picture, and that they're not feeling confident that they can give up whatever it is that they're doing to someone else.
Right.
Um,
And
yeah,
so
you know,
how did
yeah.
you do it? How were you able to do it? So you started saying 7 years ago you started your business painting that became a mold business. And so how did you have this self-worth and this big picture that you need to hire? What happened? Like what was the switch that just made you decide that okay, that's it. This is me.
I'm in the switch right now. So that's I'm still in the switch. You know,
Okay.
I'm still in the process.
Right.
And, but the switch didn't happen as a result of, I mean, the switch was partially mindset. I can't say it wasn't partially mindset, but it was due to circumstances. I would say is the number one. If we're familiar with a little bit of, you know, running away from pain or running to pleasure
Yes.
ideas over here.
Yeah.
In my particular situation, I went through a divorce,
Right.
and I never took the jump. I never took the step to really give over a lot of the business and to really let go of a lot of the responsibilities, giving it to other people, because I was too involved in doing it. I didn't want to give that up. It represented, the lack of faith that I had in myself, and I think the lack of faith in the universe, where you just sometimes need to, do stuff that you don't really, just sort of give up control in some situations. Now, what happened was is that I actually, my ex-wife had moved to another city, and and I found that, because my focus are my daughters and my focus is my family, I didn't want to break them apart, but I was still making all my money in Jerusalem.
Okay.
That's where all my money was coming from, and I didn't know what it was that I could do in order to, a, keep my family together, and b, continue to make money.
Wow.
So I was, I did a lot of driving for a while, and eventually I was forced with a situation where I had to do something. I said, you know what? I'm in a situation now where my number one priorities is what matters, and that's my daughters and my family. So I am going to make that jump, and I'm going to make that step. I'm going to move. Long story short, I'm going to move there, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to open up my business in other places, right?
And to delegate and to hire help and to
Absolutely.
start to
Well, I
expand
didn't have a
and to
choice. I mean, I had to. I had to delegate, right?
but
Like,
it's
I had
amazing
to do it.
because so
Yeah,
many people would just take that as, oh, I don't have a choice. And so they would just say, I don't have a choice. So either I'm going to continue driving, or I'm not going to see my kids, or, I'm not going to expand my mindset and like, work on myself and my vision and work on how I can see bigger, even though you didn't have a choice, but you had the choice to either not seeing your girls or continue driving or not making as much money. We always have a choice, but you did make the choice, the bigger choice. You made the choice to become a bigger self and to believe in yourself and to believe in the universe and to hire the help and to delegate the work instead of doing it yourself.
absolutely. I mean, that was a huge choice,
Wow.
and it wasn't, it wasn't an immediate thing. It wasn't a switch immediately. I had to go through experiencing the pain of doing these things myself. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that was coupled with, with self development that had begun, and that was coupled with meditation, and that was coupled with, desire to help others by motivating them. But at the end of the day, it's really everything coming together at the same time. Everything sort of happens at
Yeah.
at the right time.
Yeah, and I
Absolutely.
love how you're using your personal development tools and personal development reflexes or knowledge, and how you're implementing this in the business. I love that. I love how everything you're learning in personal development, you're just like making the connection and saying, "Oh wow, this is helping me in my life. That I'm just going to implement this in my business." And is that the breakthrough that you were talking about before, or is this breakthrough something else?
You know what? I have to say that was definitely part of the breakthrough.
Okay.
The breakthrough was I would say, a massive alignment, because there is a level of faith that you have to have in the process.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's easy to get stuck up and it's easy to get anxious about when am I going to get my next paycheck? When am I going to go, when am I going to do this? I mean, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure that there is a lot of ups and downs that really can take somebody, they can really create stress in a situation. And the breakthrough was realizing that I'm exactly where I need to be. And exactly where I need to be, and I'm going to be exactly, and that allowed me to take a look at where I was, what was going on, and really just settle down and say, wow, you're where you need to be. And it also actually gave me a whole nother, by the way, throughout, in that particular session, where we looked at what I had done.
Right.
What did I do? I was not, sometimes you really need, somebody else there to kind of like, hey, you're not taking a look at this, and I wasn't paying attention at all to what I was doing beforehand. And that comes into play from a level, that's self-worth. That's who I am. That's habits that I didn't bring into my life. And as soon as those two things came into play with each other, then everything else just it just kind of aligned. It was like, wow, I mean, I can't believe that I haven't been looking at what I've been doing. I haven't been giving myself that the positive, feedback which I need. And regardless of whatever I have on my plate, regardless of what it is that I haven't done, I have done so much and I am doing good.
Yeah.
There's something else that I wanted to bring in quickly. I have to bring this. This is important. A
yeah.
lot of the work that was a lot of when the clients would come into play, and clients would, when I wouldn't do something well, okay, if something didn't go the way that I wanted to, if my expectations weren't there was a lot of personal hurt that would come from it. And right.
Yeah.
And any time that a client would come in, I would take that personally. I would want to get back to them because it was reflecting myself personally. So there was a separation that was made between this is my business and this is myself. And
Right.
this is not, one does not reflect the other, because it's only with having that separation that you can begin working on it as an entity in of itself and not something that reflects you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many entrepreneurs make two mistakes, right? And I think those are exactly the mistakes you're talking about. One is they always look at what they didn't do yet, because we always have so much to do. I mean, let's face it, we're never done. There's always something else to do and more to do and better to do, and we're always in this guilty feeling that, oh, I didn't do enough of this, or I didn't do enough of that, or oh, I should, or I should
So
do.
bad.
Yeah, it's so
So
bad, because we're getting up in the morning and we should have gotten up earlier, and then we go to sleep late, and we should continue working, and more clients and more Facebook and more writing an email and more making phone calls and more. And so we live in this guilty feeling all the time. And what you're saying is, when you switch to the positive, you realize that from the positive you can only do better because you work from a place of self-worth. And so that's huge. That is huge. That's the first thing that you're doing that a lot of entrepreneurs are not doing. And the second thing is the separation with your business, where we think that our business is an extension of who we are. But then how can you build your self-worth if things are not going the way you want in your business, right?
and it's constantly, it eats at you. It's if you're not doing these things, and when you're in a state of guilt, it's reflective of a state of fight or flight.
Yes.
And when we're in states of fight or flight, we're only experiencing, we're accustomed to only experiencing one way of doing things, and we don't see all of the possibilities. We're not as productive. We don't enjoy it as much. We're not doing, and we're not able to just be as effective and enjoy it as much as possible.
And I'm going to add, and we've spoken about that, you and I, so I know that this is like, we know the territory. We're not also letting the universe playing the law of attraction.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're stopping the law of attraction, or we're getting the law of attraction started on the wrong foot, which is the guilt and the should, and I don't do enough, and I'm not enough, and I'm not good enough. And so as soon as we're starting to build the self-worth, we're in a positive vibration, and then law of attraction does the work, and then we get the right clients, and then we get the right vibration from people, and we're just like a magnet that attracts people. And so if I remember correctly, the breakthrough was also like understanding how you can attract much more good to yourself when you are connecting to the positive and not to the guilt or to the should.
Without a question. I mean, your vibration is bringing in the clients that are going to, in effect, be in line with you. The sales in themselves are going to be much simpler. Okay, it's much easier to, you know, to be confident, and you see it happening when you're experiencing the positive in the moment where things just click.
Yes.
You know, and if somebody doesn't work for you, well, that's because that's not working for you, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that is okay, and that it's not, you know, it's not meant to be there. I mean, it's a whole nother level of business. Yeah.
You know what I remember? I remember when we first started talking, and when you were explaining to me that you had the mold business and that you had a second business that you wanted to start, and that your goal was to get as efficient and successful as possible in the mold business in order to create some time for the single dad business that you're going to tell us about. But yeah. I want to observe an evolution that I'm observing on you, and that I think that you can be really proud, is that the first time I spoke to you, I felt some kind of frustration. I'm not where I should be, right? I shouldn't be in the mold business. I should be in the single dad business, because this is my passion and this is what I want to do. And believe me, I meet a lot of people that want to do their passion, right? I meet a lot of those people, right? But I remember back then already, my antennas were like, uh-oh, we're going to have work here, because if he's not happy where he is now and he's only observing the gap of where he wants to be, then there's always going to be another place that he wants to be. Because when you're going to get to the second goal, you want the third goal. And then from the third goal, you want the fourth goal. And so it's a mindset that you always say, oh, I'm here now, but I want to get there. And it doesn't matter if you're right or if it's your passion. It's the way you're doing it that's going to keep on happening. It's going to be a pattern. Every time you're going to get to somewhere, it's like, I'm not happy here, I want to get there. And what I see now, how you're evolving with your business, is that you're building both businesses together. And I don't feel the frustration anymore. I don't feel the frustration of I'm in a business I don't like, or, you know, not that I don't like, but that, you know, that I want to get efficient just in order to get to my single dad. You're in the moment. You're exactly where you're supposed to be in your mold business, and it's becoming successful, and you are the reason why it's successful. And at the same time, you're also planting the seeds for the single dad business, and there's no frustration. And so all the positive vibrations are just making this happen. Do you see the difference between how you started and how you are today? Is this something that you're seeing?
Let me sum it up. We had a chat, and I was just like, you could tell I was frustrated.
Yes.
I was sick of doing the bold stuff. You know, I was sick of like working on it, and what you're describing is exactly it. And it's the gap between I want to be there, but I'm not there yet. Really, you are actually there in both places at the same time. It's just sort of coming into that mindset of you know, of realizing that and being there. So yeah, I was 100% now. When I'm working on the mold business, it's a completely different attitude, not just attitude, but vibration and experience.
Yes.
150% less stress, way more faith, you know, and just being able to go into it and
more
enjoy it.
And more success.
Absolutely.
More clients,
absolutely.
Right? More revenue, right? And instead of being like this, you know, I'm frustrated, I'm not where I want to be, you just like surrender, let go, and just be in the moment. And then clients started to come because you became a magnet, because you are a magnet today. And so this is what's happening. And so this story is the same for when people say, I don't have enough money, I want to have more money, right? It's like, I'm here, I don't have enough money, I want to be here where there's more money, right? And so they don't realize that it's the mindset that's never going to get them to the more money. It's because if they're happy here and they create this positive vibration, then they will have more money. And so that's why I love your example.
Yeah. It's real.
I
It's
love it.
real, and it's life changing. I mean, it's amazing to be able to have to be working on, the money that's, but it's just it's so much more. It's really so much more. It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And so tell us about the single dad business, because we've talked about it just by the way now, and we want to hear more. So what's
So
happening in the single dad business?
what's happening with a single dad business? Well, I have well, up until now, what's been done is, I mean, I already have a course that's live online with
Wow.
another coach, with a parenting coach that we put out. That's number one. Number two, I have a single dads helping single dads group
Amazing.
where, we probably have about 144 people, dads in the group. That's
Nice.
It's growing every day. And I mean, this is just like statistics, but really what's happening, with it is just I'm developing courses, specific programs specific for the needs of single dads who are, after divorce. And so the funny thing is that there's a lot of the base ideas are applicable to everyone, and eventually I'd like to be able to share it with everyone. But right now, the focus is single dads because there's a niche
Yeah,
that's needed.
and that's what I was
And,
going to say. I mean,
yeah,
the first of all, the fact that you're talking to a specific crowd, even if you can say the same to everyone, but the community and the people that can talk to each other, right? The single dad, they're going to
yeah,
be much more comfortable with other single dads. So that's already great. But the thing I remember when I first heard your idea, I remember I was so excited that something was being done for personal development for men, because we
yeah,
always talk about women. We always talk about, I mean, I'm all for women empowerment, don't get me wrong, right? But I think
yeah,
that women empowerment, one of the role is also that it gets to men empowerment. And
yeah,
so, and I love the fact that you spoke about how sensitive, fathers are after they get divorced, and how they go through also an emotional, revolution. And so, and no one talks about that. People talk about single mom, they talk about how it's difficult to be alone for a woman, but men are supposed to be strong, right? And so no one really talks about that. Is that also what you also talk about in your programs?
so that's without a question. A lot of what I see, well, I think that we have old coding in regards to what strength means, right? I think that we have, thousands, millions, whatever you want to say, years of code that says our strength comes from our physical prowess, comes from our ability to protect, our ability to bring food. We don't live in a generation anymore that's necessary. And what's happening is, in my personal opinion, is that with the advent of computers and all of these different industries and all of the science that's giving us what we need, um, that old programming is getting old. And that as men, I think it's a much more of a necessity now to be able to connect to our emotional sides, to understand and to become more aware of what our internal selves are telling us.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think that's part of the reason why, statistically speaking, the divorce after divorce, the suicide rates of people that kill themselves, it's 75% men and 25% women.
Wow.
Um, right? Why? In my opinion, it's because men haven't developed yet the ability to cope with these situations, the ability to cope emotionally, the ability to communicate, and the ability to find brotherhood in a way that they can come out of it. Women have that, I think, a little bit more naturally,
Yeah.
and that's part of the work that I'm doing is giving men the ability to understand themselves, and giving them the ability, helping them with creating, love again in their lives, for themselves, and to help them experience enjoyment in life, and really move on in a healthy way that benefits them and the people around them and their kids and their
Amazing.
families.
That's amazing. And I think that there is a bigger need than we think. And I think it's amazing that you're doing that work. And so, to conclude, because we're going to have to end our podcast episode here, I would like
can talk here for another.
Yeah, we can talk. We'll re-invite you. Don't worry. We'll have more to
Okay.
talk about. I'm sure you'll have a lot of successes, and we'll need to, invite you again.
Yeah.
Uh, I still want to ask one question so that people that are listening can have a takeaway from this conversation. And so
Yeah.
you're in a situation where you're in a business that's successful, that's working, that's doing well, and you
Yeah.
have passion business that you're building on the side, right? And so
Yeah.
a lot of people are in a situation where they're not working in their passion, whether they're entrepreneurs or employees, and they have a passion project that they want to do one day, and they can maybe have that frustration, how come I'm not working in this passion project?
Yeah.
So I would say, what would you say to those people? What would be the message, being in that situation, being able to be successful in both? How did you cope with that frustration, and what would you say the message that you would give them in order for them to to live with that situation as best as they can? What would be your message for them?
If I can, I mean, if I could sum it up in short, creating a state of gratitude and happiness in the moment to the highest degree, however possible, and having faith in where you are will allow you to attract and move to where you want to go.
Wow.
That's don't stress over where you're at. Don't stress over I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I think that once again, that's something that will always continue. But to be able to work on the self that you can become your own light and your own source of happiness will allow you to attract in everything else that you want to do. I think
I
that's the
love it.
message.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it. And you know how I believe in the born to do, and I believe in how people should work in their passion. But I really, really believe that what you're saying is exactly what should be done. There's nothing that's going to happen from frustration or from doing things the strong way or the closed way. It's only going to happen if you're happy where you are now, and if you let go, you surrender, and then you become a magnet for what you really want. I really
Yeah.
love. Thank you so much, Josh.
You're
Thank you for
welcome.
your time. Thank you for your interview. Thank you for your story. Thank you for the
My
inspiration.
pleasure.
And I know
Yes.
we'll re-invite you, so don't go anywhere because, yeah, we need your story. We need your inspiration. Thank you very much.
No
And
problem.
goodbye to everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.